There are many traits that have convergently evolved over time through many different species, over many different families, over completely separate groups of animals. And one of those is flying, or flying. More like falling with style. Now, reptiles and amphibians in particular have done it multiple times, and basically, if there's a type of reptile, it's figured out a way to fall gracefully from the trees, and some do it a lot better than others. Now, the one that you might have heard about the most are the flying snakes, and there's one family of these that are most well known. And funny enough, I've actually owned one of them. I had an ornate flying snake for a little bit, and these guys are beautiful. They're very thin rear-fanged snakes with a venom that you won't have to worry about as a person. And they spend their day hunting in the trees, and they are very sight and vision oriented, but if they need to get away from predators, they will jump out of the tree, spread their ribs apart, and it's not anything glamorous, but they are able to expand their body mass to their body to such a point where, well, they're able to increase the drag on their bodies, lessen the effect of gravity just enough to be able to get from tree to tree without hurting themselves. And there's a few different species. The banded flying snake is one of the more rare and is one of the smallest of the flying snakes, only getting about 30 inches long. But the largest being the Moluccan flying snake, Moluccan something. They get upwards of 50 inches. It's a pretty decent sized snake to be jumping out of trees, and they're pretty cool. They basically periscope as much as their bodies they possibly can and throw themselves. One of the most incredible things about all these animals put together is that they all come from the same area too. They all come from like Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Thailand, Java, places like that. These very lush rainforests, these old rainforests, but only on that side of the world. You don't see this stuff in South America. Sure, some of the animals kind of do the same thing, but all the animals that we consider to be like the best at it all come from Southeast Asia. Next up on the list though is the flying gecko. And the flying gecko is honestly probably one of the worst at flying. This is more of a, I'm gonna throw myself at the nearest thing and hope that my skin folds keep me from smashing at terminal velocity into whatever it is. But their tails are super cool because their tails are flattened out to be able to create as much drag as possible, and they move their tails just like a lot of these geckos do when they feel threatened. They'll wiggle it back and forth, and when they're doing their threat display, it looks incredible. And these guys actually make pretty decent pets if you're not wanting to hold them all the time. They're very athletic. They want to move around a lot. They are not known to be the nicest geckos. They have the temperament of a tokay, basically. So this next one I want to talk about is actually a frog. And the thing about the flying frogs in general, there are two main families of flying frogs, one from Southeast Asia and one from the Americas. The one from the Americas, they are called flying frogs, but most of them aren't what I really want to talk about. Their webbing, most of them aren't, like, they'll just throw themselves from a tree and they have a little bit of webbing on their feet. It's not really the same caliber. Now, the one that I want to talk about is again from Southeast Asia, and it's called the Wallace's flying frog. Now, this guy takes the whole flying game to a whole different level when it comes to these frogs. The entire foot is complete webbing. So their foot splayed out like this, nothing but webbing. That's all it is, and it creates as much mass as possible. A lot of these other flying frogs don't have anywhere near as much webbing, and they just throw themselves out of the trees. And because frogs are light, they tend to be okay when they do that. But this guy is also one of the biggest. This guy is upwards of 4 inches long, and they're beautiful frogs. Their webbing is completely black, called a parachute motion, and they'll put their front legs down, like basically they'll be like this. Their front legs are up here, the back legs are up here, and what it'll do is it just creates that air just goes, and it's like as much area as possible. They splay themselves out and they just jump. And last on this list, but most certainly not the least, and probably the best at the so-called flying, is the Draco lizard. Now, the Draco lizard takes basically everything that the flying gecko does and just does it a lot better, quite honestly. It's a lot lighter of a lizard than the flying gecko, and the ribs are the ribs are extremely long. Now, these guys are smaller lizards, so they don't have as much mass to really worry about. With tail length and everything, they get about 8 inches long, but these guys are so well known for gliding. They can glide upwards of 60 meters, which is like, what, 180 feet, something like that? Let me see, 60 meters. Meters in feet. 196 feet. So they can glide upwards of 200 feet, and they don't even lose that much ground. They're so light, and I'm assuming it's a lot like a flying fish. They get a little air draft underneath them, and they can ride that thing for a while. They're so light, and basically a flying squirrel of the lizard world. Dewlaps, the things underneath their neck, is incredible. It looks like a scythe. It's huge. It's a lot longer than any of the anoles that we have here, and it's like a bright, vibrant green, and they're just beautiful little lizards. I just want to thank you guys. I know this was a short video. I wanted to give you guys a little something to go off of for the end of the year, and I wanted to thank you guys for all the support that I've had over the past, well, this past year. It's been absolutely incredible. You know, TikTok, I just hit 400,000. That's blown up, and I really hope that 2023 is going to be a huge year. I have a lot of things planned. I have a lot of awesome video ideas, and I am excited to, as much as I like to do these more informational type videos, I can't wait to get out in the field and show you guys what's out there, because that is what my forte is. I want to go out there and I want to show you how awesome these animals are and talking about it. If you guys want me to cover a certain topic, comment or like this video, comment what you want that topic to be. Go to my TikTok and tag me in videos and give me ideas on things you want me to talk about. I would absolutely love that, and I appreciate every single bit of support I've had. Thank you guys so much. Guys, have a happy new year. 2023 is going to be awesome.